What's up, Squadron? Aviation has given me a ton of amazing experiences.
Good job there. Nice rock, high wing.
But more importantly, it's introduced me to a whole new family of friends.
Like, dude, you're killing it. You're having a great day.
So just never give up.
Airport, and then, oh, by the way, I got carb ice while I was flying through, so the engine started running rough, and I had to...
Join us tonight as we're cleared direct for some hangar flying. I am Bryon Bowman, and this is SuperAero Live.
How's a lot? I mean, a lot of cookies.
Love it.
What's up, Av Geeks? It's Wednesday, which can only mean one thing. It's time for another episode of SuperAero Live. I saw you guys in the chat here. Gotta say hi to a couple people. Chancellor's in the chat. James Hyatt. Still can't wrap my head around why this channel hasn't gotten bigger. James, me either. Share it with everybody. Like, subscribe, all the YouTube crap. But I don't know why either. But I don't care because I have you. I have my Sky fam at home. You guys show up every week, and it's awesome to have you all here. Marty's here. 72 Papa's here. James Clark and the good side of ADD is here. I think that's a new name for me. Great to see you. Who else is in here? Sarah Clucky's here. Brad Bloom's here. Dude, Jason Follas. Great to see you, buddy. Scrolling. Aaron Kaufman. Hi, everyone. Long-time lurker. First time live. Aaron, welcome. I should have like a... Oh, I think I do, actually. Oh, it's a little quiet. I have the DJ air horn there. Yeah, Red Baron Modeling's here. Just Plain Silly's in the chat. Hope you're feeling better, buddy. Scarface is back, and I gotta say, every week, Scarface, you make me so happy because I listened to a lot of ska when I was in high school, and it's the best. I'm gonna stop talking about you. Oh, Anitra's here. Anitra from National Stoll is here. Chris Chain is here. Mina Kim is here. Lots of new names in the chat. You must be here for my guest. I'm going to bring him on now. You can hear him chuckling in the background. I'm just happy I'm making you laugh. Cory Robbins here.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? It's good to see you.
So great to see you, man. I put in on Facebook today when I was letting people know about the show tonight that you and I, so we have very limited, I think we've both seen each other on the internet, but at Oshkosh this year, I saw you from afar. You were like laying low with like the cowboy hat, kind of like chilling out. And I was like, oh, hey, man, because we were going to a meetup together. And you just embraced me. You just embraced me right away. And I was like, wow, this is like, I talk about on this show about like the Sky fam, like the family that we have as aviators. And like you just like, didn't need to, like we'd emailed twice and you were like, I gotta hug you, man. And that just was such a cool thing. So I'm excited to talk to you again tonight. We got a lot to cover, but anyway, there he is. Cory Robin, everybody.
Yahoo! Hey, thanks for joining the show, everybody. Good to be on with you, Ryan. I'm excited.
No,
what do you
yeah,
want to talk about?
Wow, I want to talk about airplanes, but so I want to say, just everyone in the chat, like throw your questions for Cory in there. We'll throw them up as much as we can. We'll ask them. Waukesha pilot specifically, I want to let you know, don't get mad if I don't ask your question right away. I want to try to like ease it in. Maybe Cory's saying something really insightful. I don't want to interrupt, so I'll try to get to every question. But anyway, another longtime lurker in the chat. I just want to say hi to who was that? Someone in there said I also am a longtime lurker, but now I can't find it. Flying with Rich. Welcome, Flying with Rich. Good to have you here tonight. Okay, Cory, so let's dig in, man. You and I have a lot to cover, but we got to start like back to basics. Like, where did how did airplanes start for you?
Oh man, that's I don't know how many times I've told the story a few times now, and the weird thing is, I found myself telling it to somebody earlier today for some reason, but. Anyway, when I was in grade school, and I think it was right around second or third grade, I had to write a book report on World War II. And so I went back home to, you remember back in the day, the Encyclopedia Britannica, the old hard books. And so I flipped into World War II and just looking for something to write about, and I saw this small black and white photograph of a P-51, and the caption said P-51B. And so I was like, oh, what's that? And so I looked up the North American P-51B and, pulled the book and, looked it up. And, I just, even as a kid, I fell in love with that story of how the War Department had this order for a long range fighter escort that could, take the bombers deep into Europe. And it had all these requirements that have never been done before in aviation. And from start to finish, they did it in something like 112 days, or, I can't remember. It was like 110, something like that. One of the fans online will correct me, and that'll be awesome. But I just thought that was awesome, even as a little kid. And so I wrote this, and back then it was grade school, so it wasn't a very big, long thing. But I just fell in love with the P-51 and that cool story about how they literally built an airplane out of nothing, had one engine that they weren't super happy with in the Allison, and then they went to the Rolls-Royce Merlin, and then it was a super bomber or a super fighter escort, and it was like the most iconic aircraft in history. And I just loved it. I just love that story. And so, even as a young kid, my first model airplane that I built was a P-51 Mustang. So anyway, wow. Very cool stuff.
I wonder what I think my first model airplane was the F-117, the stealth fighter. Yeah. And then I found my way to World War II. I wonder where it is. I think I still have like this giant P-38 that I built.
Oh yeah.
I felt so cool.
Sweet. Yeah.
Super popular with the girls. Check out this P-38.
Oh man.
Richard Bong from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Big ace man in the P-38. So you get the P-51 love going on. I think that makes a lot of sense. Also, for the youngins watching, Google what an encyclopedia is later. It's how old guys like us had to get information.
Yeah. You could find anything in those things. Actually, they were really amazing for what they were. So in such a small amount of space in your whole entire living room covered in books, you could have all the information you'd ever want.
And they were sold often by like door-to-door salesmen.
Yeah,
like, hello,
awesome.
Would you like the gift of information? Because the internet
Times
didn't exist.
Sure changed. Oh
yeah.
Hell, man, people have no idea.
Okay, so you do the P-51. Like, when do you make the leap and start training then?
Oh gosh, I was 15 years old, I think, and I was flying model airplanes at the time, and I just overheard somewhere that you could solo at 16 and get your license at 17. And here I am, 15 years old, going, holy cow, I could really fly an airplane at 16 years old. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I, needless to say, I started bagging groceries, man. And I made it happen. I got serious about it. And it took me a long time to do it, a lot longer than I thought. But I soloed at 16 and got my license at 17. And, I've, taken a couple of breaks from aviation for financial reasons and just stuff going on, which I regret. But for the most part, man, I've been flying for 30 years now, and it's just weird to even think about that.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's crazy, huh?
So, okay, so then I think the next logical question is, that's amazing. Flying for 30 years is amazing. What takes you to? Were you always into like the backcountry stuff, or was that something that came later?
I've always really loved the outdoors, and so backcountry flying, landing off airport was like one of the things I wanted to do even before I got my private pilot's license. And a lot of it comes from maybe being here in Utah, and back then, almost everybody was a backcountry pilot. I thought everybody landed off airports. I mean, half the airports in the state, had dirt runway options. And at least that's what I thought. That was my impression. And I don't know if that's reality, because as I think about that, I'm like, man, there's only a handful of airports even nearby that have a dirt option, but it's really nice when they do. And I love those airports. But, I just kind of always loved flying in the backcountry and have done it almost the whole time that I've flown airplanes. Yeah. Learned to fly in a tailwheel airplane.
So I was going to ask you, what did you learn to fly in?
Yeah, I started in a 150, 152, and I lived in a little bit further north of Salt Lake, and I started my flight training at Ogden Airport, and then moved back to Salt Lake City, and then changed instructors, and then that's when I transitioned into the tailwheel airplanes, because the instructor that I just fell in love with was this old World War II coot, and I just, oh man, he was just he was awesome. He flew a T6, and cool. I learned in a decathlon, and so I'm learning in a pretty ripping airplane.
Yeah.
But it was just literally, as soon as I had money, as soon as I could cash my paycheck, making I think $4.17 an hour bagging groceries, I would immediately go out to the airport, because I was just having so much fun. And I'd hang out with him in between lessons, anything I could do to, his hangar floor was spotless, because I'd clean it every single day. It was just whatever I could do to be out there, Yeah,
it's funny. I got into aviation a little bit later in life. Oh man, would have been my late 20s. And I was trying to do that. I was like, never mind this teenage kid that's mowing the runway. Like, I'll also do that. Felt a little. You should let the kid do it. I got an actual job, so I could pay for it. But a couple other things in the chat, real quick. People are talking about their first airplane models they built. Red Baron Modeling says the first one he did was a P-51. Cool. James Hyatt's first one. And now,
was it a D or a B? My first model was a B with the plate glass windows on the sides, and it didn't have the bubble canopy.
That's great, because that's one that a lot of people don't even think about.
Yeah, there's a big distinction. I felt, because that's the black and white photograph that I saw, so I've always loved that particular one.
And I think that's an underrated. I think it's a very pretty one. I think it's underrated. Taking off here, by the way. Dan Milliken's here. He was at that meetup. He said his was the Corsair. James Hyatt built a Corsair first. A lot of people built Corsair. 72 Papa, a Newport 28.
Oh, wow. What's a Newport 28?
Is that like a World War I thing?
I cannot place it. Oh, yes. Is it one of those really classic? It's it's the more modern version of the Newport 11, which I'm familiar with. So now it's coming to me. So the 28 didn't have the whole engine rotating, where I think the 11 did.
Oh, you're totally you're out.
I think it just came
right
to
now.
me.
That's great.
I think it just came to. No, I've just got somebody Googling and putting it.
So it's like
no, I'm kidding.
You got a producer in your ear.
Yeah. Totally.
Though that's super. Yeah. Oh, Marty says, by the way, he says encyclopedia for everyone else is old people's Wikipedia. That's true.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is. So, okay, a couple questions are coming in, and I wanna get to these, but I want to try to get to them organically a little bit. So, bush flying, you said you were kind of doing always. You kind of progress. I wanted to nerd out with you about the Wilgo, but let's take a step forward, because I want to answer this question from the chat. Morgan Adventures is asking, why did you pick Ghost versus other
Ghost?
Versus other aircraft? I mean, I'd love to hear the name Ghost too, but versus the other aircraft that you could, like as far as bush planes. Why did you go that direction?
Well, I had just crashed my Wilga.
Okay.
And
there's a story there.
Super bummed. Yeah, I was super bummed about it. And I said to myself, I was literally laying at home, depressed as hell. Number one, you crashed an airplane, man. And that sucks. I'm getting emotional even thinking about it. But I was in a pretty bad place, to be honest with you. And so I just said to myself, F it. I'm getting the best airplane I could possibly get for the backcountry. And I've been flying in the backcountry with all these guys with all different types of airplanes. And I know which airplane performs across the envelope that I want. And I'm not saying it's the best at everything, but at the end, like the Carbon Cub, I mean, come on. It's awesome. It is a fantastic airplane. And I'm not saying anything negative about others, but, we're talking 4 or 5 years ago, and a lot of other airplanes have really come up, and they're awesome as well. And, it's hard to say who's the best of the best. But back then, in my opinion, that just fit everything that I wanted. Plus, I wanted to be one of those collar popping backcountry guys. It was just the airplane that just always kicked my butt, when I was in the Wilga. And they just were the guys that, they get out of the airplane and they're not sweating. And they made it look so dang easy. And that's why I call them the collar popping guys, because they get out of their airplane's clean and beautiful because they landed so freaking short and they didn't go through the mud like I did. And my airplane looks like a freaking Ford truck because it's
actually kind of like about the Wilga, by the way.
But, that's why I chose the Carbon Cub, and the Carbon Cub EX, in my opinion, is still the best version of the Cub Crafters line. I think they've just departed, in my opinion, from my mission. I think they've catered to guys that want to go faster and farther with the newer models, and that's fantastic. They're still fantastic airplanes, but they don't land shorter than mine. So, I love being able to go off airport and treat my airplane like it's a dirt bike. And so, man, I've just got it dialed in the way I like it. And I'm comfortable in it, and I love it. I'm madly in love with my airplane, almost maybe too much, probably.
No, I think that's a perfectly fine. You were like, I don't know, maybe I think it's a perfectly fine reason. Says the guy who does not have a Carbon Cub. I will say this: it's been interesting watching the National Stoll Circuit, which I think you competed in one of the.
I did, yeah.
It was like the only one I missed.
Yeah. Oh,
the only one I missed.
It was so much fun. And I haven't done a real Stoll competition in a long time. I've done the demonstrations where you're just there to kind of demonstrate different things, and I'll try to do like a forward slip and, not just there to compete, but to kind of showcase, you know what I mean? To get other people interested in what we're doing. And so it's a little bit different than, putting the fangs out and trying to win, which I did try at Brainerd. I honestly did, but the conditions were so challenging, and I was just in my head because I made the mistake of turning on the freaking cameras. And I wanted to prove myself because I hadn't done a competition since I founded my YouTube channel. I'd never done one myself. I've covered like Draco going and competing in Valdez, but I never covered me doing an actual competition. So I wanted to do well, and man, I blew it. But I had fun and it was great. And after the first day, I kind of just let it go, turned everything off, and did much, much better the second day. But those conditions were really challenging, and those guys, that come out to these competitions have it's crazy how the wide variety of skill set comes to the competition, and everybody practices and practices and practices. And then by the time it matters, everybody's gotten up to speed, and the competition is on, and it's really cool to see that. And I was super impressed. I just had so much fun watching. I got to be a line judge, and I just really enjoyed the whole dang thing. It was just super fun. So if you haven't been there and you're a pilot and you want to see what you can do, I mean, there were guys showing up in Cessna 172 straight tails and 172 modern aircraft that, they'll take the wheel pants off and go enter it in. It's amazing how much you can learn in that community as well if you're just coming as a spectator and you're interested in getting into it. You may not want to just show up at your very first competition ever and compete. That might not be the right thing to do, but just get involved. It's a super fun thing to do, and you'll be a safer pilot because of it. I really firmly believe in that.
So I've announced all of them except for Brainerd this year, and watching people progress too. Like, there's some people who've actually come to every one, and there's a guy in a Cherokee 140. I think you maybe mentioned that, and he's just like tearing it up in a Cherokee. Where you're like, wow, I didn't know a Cherokee 140 could do that. Like, it's like
so cool watching these guys just fly these airplanes to the capabilities of the aircraft and the pilot. It's just a lot of fun. It's fantastic.
So what I was going to say about what you mentioned, like, the technological advancements happening in bush flying and in backcountry flying, and it's been really interesting to watch through National STOL as a window into it. Obviously, it's a little bit easier than what you're doing actual backcountry, right? Like, you've got it's grass, it's flat, there's a line, like it's not a cliff, there are no trees, but watching, for instance, like the different companies kind of be competitive with each other is really interesting, right? You've got Carbon Cub, always like very aggressive showing, but then you've got the Legend Cub guys in the MOACs that are doing like a totally, and they're every once in a while they'll beat the Carbon Cubs or vice versa, and then you've got people like Huskies and like Austin Clemens with his like reversible pitch prop and Super Cubs and the whole. Awesome. It's just super interesting to watch. Yeah, for sure. Well, no, I appreciate you telling this story. I want to follow up on a question you asked. You asked Red Baron Modeling if it was a D or a B. His first model was a D, but he was
a D. Okay.
He was careful to mention, or wanted me to make sure to mention, that he also has built a B because it's awesome. Good. And I heard separately, you and I should give this dude a little bit of kudos. Just got accepted into A&P school, so congratulations on that, man. That's
nice.
Yeah, he's gonna go be an A&P. So good job, buddy. I'm excited to hear about that. He's a Patreon supporter, so I'll probably hear about it in the Zoom chat that we do with.
Come and do an annual with me.
Yeah, there you go. So talk to me a little bit. Sorry, I'm seeing jokes in the chat about boats and that you have a producer and I don't know. Experimental Aircraft Channel says hi.
Excuse me. Got excited about Bryon joining.
I'm very excited about Bryon. Had a nice beer chat with Bryon at Sun and Fun this year.
Yeah, he's a good fella.
So, man, there's too many. Everyone's too excited, Cory. I can't keep up with all the chats. Okay, I'm gonna focus up. So let's talk about a little bit about.
We're just having so much fun.
No, so I mean, you were talking about. You mentioned, like, for you, all the flying that you thought everyone just did bush flying, and I was thinking about this today, and I wanted to ask you about it. Like, I feel like the only YouTube content for aviation, like 90% of it is like backcountry flying, but maybe that's just because I'm self-selecting and that's all I like to watch. But something seems to lend itself more to maybe it's the adventure or whatever. Like I know people watch like other like 310 Pilot and that's a cool type of flying too, or Mentor Pilot with like the big heavy iron stuff. That's all super cool too. Right. But I'm just wondering, do you think like there's you said you did it because you love the outdoors and it just felt normal to you, but do you think there's like an inherent draw to that right now?
I hope it's because it has a appeal beyond people that are naturally interested in aviation. I hope it's appealing to that's truly why I do it, is to try and introduce and showcase aviation by exposing them through backcountry diabolically. But you know what I mean? If you show them something beautiful, I've been on TV shows. I'll take photographs. I did a video for Panasonic Lumix cameras. And so I said, well, man, I got to do something amazing. And so, get a real photographer to do the shoot, right? And so that's what I did. And so I had the opportunity to work with this really, really ridiculously talented photographer for that video named Andrew Studer. And he's on Instagram. I don't remember what his thing is, but look him up on Instagram. Super talented. And you can see the pictures that he took and then the videos. Actually, he did a short video on his YouTube channel as well, but I've done one on mine as well. But anyway, we did this fantastic, beautiful shoot, and I've gotten a lot of feedback outside the aviation industry on that content. But then, then it's an opportunity to introduce people to aviation, in my opinion. So that's really what the goal is for me. I don't even remember what the question was now at this point, but yeah.
I was just saying, why do you think
like,
I was just thinking that the question again is just like, what's I think the insane draw of it, right? Like everyone's super into it, and obviously for me,
I hope that's why that there's so many backcountry channels, is because it has a broad appeal inside and outside of aviation. And I'd like to think that there's some really large mainstream general aviation or aviation channels that focus on more the airline space.
Sure.
With some of the really big ones like A7 4Gear, or
right.
is it 7-4 Gear, that guy that does the hotel room, videos.
Right.
That are just, I love them. They're so good. And
I should get him on the show too.
You really should. But he's just it's fascinating, the wide variety of content that he has on his channel. And so he's one of the ones that I watch that's not a backcountry channel. And he's just well informed, and he does his research, and you can tell he doesn't just get on there and shotgun it. And if he does get on there and shotgun it, wow, he's awesome.
Right?
I mean, that's impressive. So, because sometimes we do that, everybody.
Yeah.
does.
I mean, that's literally that's what this is. I want to just keep throwing stuff from the chat. People are like having this access to you. David Almy, two questions.
David. He's awesome. He's a guy from Flaybob Airport.
He had asked a couple. He said, when are you coming back to that airport? But he also wanted to say, thanks for commenting on that video earlier. It made his son David's day that you commented on that video. So thank you for him for that.
Yeah.
And he had a
pretty awesome day.
I don't know the context, but I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. He wanted me to ask you about relaxing flights.
What about it?
I don't know. He said ask Cory about relaxing flights. They are awesome.
Oh, thank you. Well, it just kind of came by accident. I can't shut my brain off very easily at night between business and flying and all the things. I just have a difficult time doing it, and so I often watch these YouTube videos that are just chill music, and most of the time it's just chill music. And I thought, man, for a safety reasons, when I start a wing camera, I start it and I have this 416 gig or whatever disc on it and a supplemental battery pack up there. And I hit go on that sucker and it runs the entire flight. And sometimes because I have so much space, I'll just let it roll, and I'll park my airplane in such a way where it might be a second angle for, as I'm vlogging, or I'll try and, use the wing camera to film people. But needless to say, it has a ton of footage on it. And I just made that footage into something with that relaxing music that I was already listening to, but it just adds that, flying to it. And, I just love making that content. Really it originally started just for myself, made this, extra channel to do it. And, gosh, I think I have like 2,000 some odd subscribers now on it. It's just it's funny. It's awesome that people are enjoying it. And because I do. So,
it's funny. A lot of people in the chat are like, I put that on when I want to like relax and go to sleep, like whatever.
Yeah. We've got
I
a lot of
definitely-
aeromedical doctors that have contacted me and said, "Hey, do you mind if I play that in my visiting room for my people coming to get their medicals?" And I'm like, "Yeah, rad, let's do that."
Yeah, just put it on a
You know?
loop. Put it on a loop.
Do
Get
it.
those views.
You
Get
have
those
my
views.
permission. Take those videos and just find joy. Whatever. Let's do it.
I gotta say thank you to a couple people real quick. Eric and Jonathan, you guys hooked me up with some super chats. Very
Oh,
generous
good job,
of you.
guys.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much for that. Thank you for supporting this show. You guys are awesome.
Make sure you
advocates.
guys also go to the next level and share his channel with your friends on social media, because he really needs that. He's got fantastic content. Let's get him out there.
I will.
Come-
I'll send you the $20 later for that. Thank you for that. No, people don't realize how much
Yeah.
sharing really helps. It really
Gets the
does.
awareness out. Especially if it's genuine, and if you're really here and you're sending a super chat, just share the video too. Share the channel
thank
with your
you.
friends.
Okay, I want to talk more about backcountry flying for a second. So
All right.
I'm curious though, what you've had a ton of adventures, and I'm wondering if you could like crystallize it down. If you had like 2 or 3 major learnings that pilot, like, so my background as an example, like private pilot, not instrument rated. Nick Moore with another one, with another super chat,
yeah.
dude. Thanks,
Keep
Nick.
them coming. SuperAero
Dude.
in the house.
Dude, Nick, thank you.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
What I was wondering was, I look at that type of. I did a little bit of tailwheel flying in the beginning. Trained in J3s, which I am like contractually obligated to mention every show, because it makes me feel cool. But then, like,
Yep. It is cool.
when I think about the flying you guys are doing, right? Like mountaintops, like, the videos that I've seen, like where you've taken people up for their first flight, and you're like, and now we're in a dry lake bed.
Yeah.
And look at how we get like that magic, right? Like that.
Yeah,
that
it's cool.
That's not
It's rad.
accessible to me here in Wisconsin. I'm wondering, what kind of lessons can I learn from you and all the other like bush pilots out there that I can bring back to my flying?
That you can take with you to your flying. I guess the biggest thing is, some of us have started doing it for a living, and it's easy to fall out of love with it, right? And this is, man, this advice is so universal, and this is just something I live on a daily basis, is take time for yourself to stay in love with it. Do those things. Don't stop doing the things that made you fall in love with it. I still, every now and then, I'll build a model, or I'll look up the P-51 Mustang and read the story again. And I need to now, because I can't remember how many freaking days it took. It's 100-something days, 3 months, whatever. So I need to read it again. But just take that time to stay in love with aviation, and don't stop doing those things that caused that passion to grow and build in the first place. Whether it was looking through the fence at airplanes, go look through the fence at airplanes. I don't care if you can go through the fence. Go look through the fence like you did as a kid, and stay in love with aviation, because it matters. It's awesome. Woo.
I just did that the other day, actually. Our international airport, we've got a viewing area, and I just went and had like a quiet moment with some big airplanes flying over, and I think that stuff's really important.
Yeah, I was in Dallas. I did the same thing. They have a great observation area at the Fort Worth airport, and went and hung out there for a couple hours, sipping a 44-ounce Coke, and just sat there waiting for a flight. It was awesome. Loved it.
That could have been an ad for Coke right there. Just like think about how great that ad would be. You're just sitting there, like sitting smiling.
Oh, it was just wonderful. Just being able to just sit there and enjoy the jets coming in. They were coming out of the north, just right over my head. It was perfect. It was awesome. Early morning and sunrise, and it was beautiful. So
and I think people don't realize how special. Like, that's the kind of stuff we have access to I mean, whether or not
Yeah.
you're sitting there at the observation area or
Everybody has access to the observation areas at these airports, and it was empty. I was there at sunrise because I think my flight was, like an hour after sunrise, and so I'm like, perfect. I'm going to go a little early and do some photography at the observation area, and the airplanes, how it's situated. The sun came up, and then that was backlighting these jets coming in. And it was just sick. And I had to put the camera down because I just wanted to sit there and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it just makes you fall in love with it again.
I think
Has nothing to do with backcountry flying.
No, but
I was watching heavies,
Yeah, no, but I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Like it's the thing, like someone kind of joked in the chat. They're like, Ryan, when's the last time you flew an airplane? The answer is a little over a month ago, which was good for me because before that, with the pandemic and all that crazy stuff, like it had been a year. It was a whole year that I didn't get to fly.
Well, I'll tell you, after Oshkosh, I got back from the whole Brainerd thing in Oshkosh and the long trip home. I didn't fly for over a month once I got back. So. Even Cory Robin sometimes takes a break.
but what I was gonna say is it's like and I don't know if you feel this way as someone who's a quite prolific content creator too. Like part of what I realized was stopping me was this pressure that like, oh, if I go to the airport, I got to put the cameras on. I have new cameras, I have new mounts, so I got to learn how to do those. I got to do that, and it was like. That was actually, I realized, was preventing me from going because I had this pressure to like make something instead of just go fire it up and like get into the sky. And so that's I don't know. I just think that's part of it too. Like we were talking before the show started. As a new business owner, I was asking you for some advice, and you gave a similar answer, right? You're like, well, hey, like just make sure you take time to like remember why you're doing this. And I think that's true with airplanes too, right? Yeah
It's true with really anything that you want to be a part of your DNA, and that's true for relationships. It's universal advice, really. It's something you should really think about and just take the time to stay in love with the things that you want to stay in love with. You know what I mean? It sounds simple, but we don't do it as much as we really should. I really think we could do a little bit better job at that. So maybe that's your takeaway in this video.
Stay in love with it. I mean, here's the thing. Love is not easy, right? Like you think of like on the most basic level with like relationships, like it's work.
Oh, yeah,
like
it really
you
is.
gotta like you want to like like my wife and I, we got these 2 young kids, and like we said the other day, and I will share this vulnerably. I was like, do you still like me? Right? And we're gonna raise these kids amazing. We're gonna like work so hard. And it's like, whoa, like this is not when you're like, newlyweds or whatever. Like you don't think about like the work side. And I think what I've realized is everything in my life that I am passionate about, you can't forget about the work. Like put in the work, like whether it be like my relationship with my wife or my kids or my airplane or whatever, right? You got to like put in that work. So you and I are getting deep tonight, Cory. This is deep stuff.
I don't know. It was the pre-show conversation where we did have an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit more. I think it was awesome. That should have been what we should have aired.
Well, we're airing it right now. Okay. Some questions in the chat. People are also sharing some great observation areas. Freedom Fixer Flying says, hey, if you ever get to the Southwest Airlines headquarters, they have a roof patio that looks over the runway. It's a great place to watch flights. Question
that would be at Love Field, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah,
Dallas Love Field. Okay.
Is that right, Freedom Fixer Flying? Let us know if that's right. Morgan has a question about how to learn how to do this bush flying stuff safely, and so Morgan's saying,
well, that's a real easy one. You'll get a backcountry instructor. No,
so that was
no joke.
That was
I'm not kidding about it. It'll kill you, and it'll kill you quick. It's not something to mess around with. I've seen a lot of accidents and incidents, and A lot of them could have been prevented, and including my accident where I crashed my airplane. So, get a good instructor. You've got, one of my favorites is CC Pocock, and he's in the, just outside of Las Vegas. And he actually does probably some of the most complete instruction, where he actually has written a book called Bush Flying Basics or something like that. And you can find him at bush-air.com. I'm not sponsored by him. He's just a really great instructor and a really good dude. But I can't not recommend him first, because he's just the first person I think of. And then you've got other people that can get you into backcountry, and they might not be as paper structured as CC, but fantastic instructors like Kevin Quinn. And he's like a seat of your pants, really just super fun, awesome person to fly with, an iconic person to fly with. So if you have an opportunity to do it, then fly with Kevin. I would really recommend that. And then there's some of the schools. I took courses years and years ago up at McCall Flying Service with, I think her name was Lori McNichol or something like that, if I remember right. But really fantastic instruction. And you can take your aircraft there, and CC, you can do the same thing. And Kevin, all these, you can take your own aircraft, or they actually can instruct in theirs. But, I can't understate or overstate, or whatever is the right way to say it. It's important to get instruction and learn the backcountry, learn what the wind's going to do when it's swirling around a mountain. It's much safer to do it with that knowledge, and then you build the skill. So anyway, it's super awesome, and it's super fun, and we want you to come. But let's keep everybody safe doing it, and get that instruction so everybody's flying the right side of the mountain that they should be flying on, and everybody's safe. And things are much better when you have the training. It's awesome.
Yeah, the idea that safe can be fun.
It's funner.
It can be fun. Yeah, it's funner.
Yeah.
James Clark says CC is like former special forces, and I also think a hitman for the Russian mob. I can't confirm or deny that, but it's funny.
I'd like to. I actually was looking around at Oshkosh, and I hang out with a crew of people that could literally be cartoon characters, every single one of them. And I was looking at people like Joe Pops Dory and Hal Stockman. And CC Pocock, and then these are just such vastly different human beings, but massive personalities, and just all making it happen in vastly different ways. Just such cool guys that, they really should have a cartoon show or something. So it's just so funny.
It's interesting because I was down at Lone Star Stoll in Texas, Gainesville, Texas, and I had this very similar kind of reaction. Like, I was hanging out with Levi Nogues, and he's like a literal talk about like flying cowboys, or he's like a literal cowboy, right? Which
congratulations to Levi. He actually was, Bryon over there at the Fat Tire Cowboys invited Levi to be a Fat Tire Cowboy, I think last week. And so congratulations to Levi. Again, a huge character.
Yeah.
These guys are, icons,
But,
so
and I
cool.
think the other thing is hang out.
Fun time.
I can't share anything that he told me, but you want to hang out with, you want to hear some stories. Go hang out with these guys, go to the dinner after there's some tall tales happening.
You can't live anywhere near Lubbock, Texas, and not come out of it with a lot of stories.
Right.
Just there's a big circle around it, and it's Storytown, USA.
Right.
They just live. They obviously live in Texas.
Also,
Texas.
Other, for me as a northerner, I don't know if I can call me a northerner, from Wisconsin, right? I'm a whatever. I didn't know that this is gonna sound super dumb and naive, but
oh, no.
I didn't realize that cowboys still walked around with like guns on their hips, just like going to the store.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen here in Wisconsin. That's a different. I mean, it happens a little bit. I was like, oh, you guys it's just this thing you need to do your job, and you just bring it with you. I was like, well, there you go. You guys are all packing. I will not say anything stupid.
All the time here in Utah, all the time. And, it's normal, I think, But I then again, I go to like, the more local, like if you're going to go to an outdoor store, I go to the locally owned one. I go to the Sportsman's Warehouse, and that's where the
right.
that's where the real, the real, red, white, and blue Americans are, I don't know.
That's for Cory and Ryan Fix America. The other show we're gonna do.
No, I won't. Politics and me are just so. Ugh.
That's not what this show's for. So Tyler Russell, super chat. He says Ryan uses to buy your RV8 tail kit. Backcountry RV8. They got that RV15 thing coming up. Let's see what that is. So I want to talk. Let's talk about your Wilga, if you're okay. If you're okay talking about it, just because
sure.
I remember that. Like I remember seeing that. When I first started my pilot training, I don't know what it is. I love things that are kind of like unconventionally beautiful. And I remember seeing pictures of Wilgas and being like, whoa, this is what I need. I have a Polish last name. I should get a Polish plane. This is what I gotta do. And then suddenly I'm searching Wilga, and boom, there's Cory in the you called it the Wilga Beast, right? It was the
Wilga Beast. Yeah, well, I put a little bit bigger engine in it. And so before, when it had the 260 horsepower engine, it was just the Wilga. But when I put a 360 horsepower engine on it, then ultimately a 400 horsepower engine on it, and it was definitely a Wilga Beast. And how that name came about, it's actually kind of a cool story. I was at Oshkosh, and I took it to Oshkosh, and there's, the Wilgas just draw a crowd, and I was just camping under the wing, and this guy was escorting his daughter around the airplane, and he was taking it, and she says to her dad, she goes, "Dad, what kind of an airplane is this?" And he says to her, "It's a Wilga," and she goes, "It looks like a Wilga Beast," and I was just like, "Oh, that's awesome." So anyway, that's where the name Wilga Beast came from. So that was kind of a fun one, and then we had a little, put nose art on it with the bird, but it was a fun airplane.
Because obviously, famously, there's this other famous Wilga, highly modified one, but people have saw that. Of course, we're talking about Draco.
I hope they did, yeah.
I hope you saw it, but I'm curious, like, what's it like to fly? Like, I mean, you obviously amped up the horsepower. But what's it like to fly a Wilga? Like I just see it, and it's kind of like ungainly, but it looks super capable, and it's like big, and I don't know. So just what's the flying experience like for people who've never sat in one?
It flies the way it looks. It flies weird.
Okay.
Quite candidly, they're not a great airplane.
You're like, I don't want to say because I don't want to break Ryan's heart. No, I want the truth. Tell me the truth, Cory.
You got to put some work into them in order. I mean, there's a reason why they're not making them anymore. They've got a terrible accident history. They fly the way they look. They fly very weird. And just with you look at the wing and they call it a leading edge slat, but then you look at the shape of the wing and it's really, you're flying a weird slotted wing. And, I don't know, Mike Patey will probably be able to talk about airfoils than me. I don't want to pretend to be an expert, but if you look at that airfoil on the Wilga wing, it doesn't look like an airfoil if you take away the slat. And so it just looks like a weird slatted wing, and it's not a very efficient airplane. It takes a lot of horsepower to shovel that thing through the air, but the weird thing is you just fall in love with the dang things. They're just so fun to fly at the same time because of that weirdness, and they're oddly capable at doing things with all that weirdness. You know,
Yeah.
I had an air start system on mine, and that's weird. You know,
That's cool.
Sometimes you'd see me in the backcountry up in Idaho with 3-4 scuba tanks laying next to the airplane while I'm camping. They're like, "What the hell do you have the scuba tanks for?" Well, it's in case my airplane can't. Excuse me, whacked my microphone. Well, it's in case my airplane can't hold the air. I won't be able to start it in the morning, so I bring the scuba tank to back up my starter. So what happens? You don't have problems your battery dying with the Wilga. You have problems with your air tanks leaking.
I love that. And then like separately, you could just take it to like the Bahamas, and then you're good for both. You could just go for a dive or go for a flight.
Yeah, I actually do use those scuba tanks for scuba. So, yeah, absolutely.
Someone's keeping us honest here. They said we never actually answered the question about Ghost. Why you named it Ghost?
Oh, why I named it Ghost.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when I first got the airplane, me and I don't remember everybody in the group, I don't think, but I specifically remember Mark Patey was there and Jason Sneed, and I don't think Mike was with us because he's always the guy that's in the hangar until the last freaking minute, and then he'll just fly alone at like 14,000 feet and like pretty much beat you there every time. But you can't get the guy out of the hangar. But anyway, we're flying along, and the original paint scheme on my aircraft did not have any of the orange on it that it has today. It basically just had this little red pinstripe down the side of it, like you see in a lot of the black and silver carbon cubs that have the little red accent, pinstripe going down it. And so that's what it was. But I was flying in kind of a loose formation cross country with these guys on our way to the High Sierra Fly-In. And Mark kept commenting. He's like, "Man, your plane's disappearing." And he kept looking at me, and I could see him up there from, because I was flying below him, maybe, 200 feet below him, and maybe, 500-600 feet away. And he just says, "You keep disappearing. It's almost like you're a ghost." And so everybody on the radio just unanimously then chimed in, "That has to be the nickname for that airplane," because I had just bought it, and that's one thing about all the Flying Cowboys guys is we nickname our dang airplanes. They always have to have a name. And so we were, happy to make that the name of the airplane.
That's a legitimately great naming story.
Yeah, and that's how it has to be in our little circle of friends, is everything has to be organic. And, believe it or not, the name Draco, Mike came up with that almost organically. There's a really cool story behind it that you should ask him to tell on his channel, if he hasn't already, and maybe the commenters can to ask him to tell that story. It's a pretty cool story. All the Flying Cowboys have names for the airplane. I mean, talk to Steve Henry about why his aircraft is named Yeehaw, and why does it have a number in the name. I mean, there's stories behind all the little, and a lot of the time it's just kind of us in between us, brothers or whatever you call it. But it's fun to share and share that camaraderie with people.
My 172 that I co-own with the 13 or 14 other people is Uncle Victor, like a uniform.
Oh,
Victor.
very
So
cool.
they started calling it Uncle Victor,
Oh, cool.
and it's like become a thing. I keep saying I want to put like
Awesome.
like a really sexy dude, like as nose art, like a really like Tom Selleck or something.
A guy in like tool belt,
Yeah, like short shorts and a tool belt, and that's like the nose
Like,
art.
who's that?
It's like.
Yeah, my daughter loves this guy on TikTok that's always in his underwear, and I hate the guy, but a guy like that.
Yeah, that guy. You should find that guy and just put him on.
Why the heck is my 10-year-old daughter watching you in your underwear, man?
What? Oh man, Cory, we are almost out of time, and Can we play a game real quick before we sign off?
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. I love games.
You're like, I don't know, what is this gonna be?
Let's do it.
The game's called Short Final, and basically we've got a minute on the clock. No, it's like it's really an actual game. There are no points, and it's not a quiz. It's not like a test. It's just we're just gonna like rattle off some questions. You're just gonna tell me first thing that pops in your head. We're gonna see how many we can do.
Oh no!
Okay, so here we go. Gonna get it all set. This is short final with Cory Robin on SuperAero. I don't know why I said that. You guys all know where you are. Here's the music. Here's the thing. All right, Cory. First things first. North up or track up on the GPS?
North up.
Oh, we had a lot of track ups lately. Favorite airport? Yeah, I suppose. Favorite airport you've ever landed at?
My home airport. Nothing like coming home.
What about, you've kind of famously flown a lot of people on your YouTube channel. What about your favorite passenger you've ever flown with?
Oh, it's got to be the kids, my kids, Has to be.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
What about, is P-51 favorite warbird, or is there another one?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Gotta do it. Okay, last thing. I'm assuming I know the answer, but like tail wheel, nose wheel.
It's an airplane, bro. Go fly it. I'm not in the
Trying to start some fights.
The airplane doesn't know where those wheels are once you get in the air. Let's go flying.
I think I have a shirt with I have a shirt from you that says that on it.
Yeah, I bet you do. Awesome. Man, this has been awesome.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on this show. It's so great, and I hope we haven't had the luxury of flying together, but hopefully if nothing, I'll see you on the. Are you going to do any more National Stole things next year?
I have no idea. Just really schedules and what's going on at work and home, and I'm not really super competitive in those things. I tend to get fourth place like every time. I did fourth place at Oshkosh, fourth place there. I'm like, come on, can't podium. What's going on?
You just gotta it's all the stuff's just getting in. I mean, depending on the class.
Yeah, it is so competitive, and these guys are really good. And really, the only thing I can do is adjust the tire pressure and repitch my propeller. That's it. Maybe take the seats out. I don't know. But
yeah. I mean, that's what they're all doing. It depends on the class, right? But then you go like Steve Henry's like, I'll just like dump another turbocharger on it or whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh man, these guys are. It's amazing stuff that they're doing, because it's literally new technology being invented by these guys. It's absolutely spectacular and fun to see and be a part of. And who knows? Maybe I'll do some competitions in the future, but it's sure not on my radar right now, because my airplane's really set up as go out and play airplane. It's really, not a competition airplane. I just love to find myself in the wild, and that's where its wheelhouse really is.
Well, what I always say when people talk about that when I'm on the mic is, remember though, like if you don't want to get your plane to be super competition mode, you're still just like someone else's mistake away from winning. Right? Like if you're consistent, if you're consistent Cory Robin, you're just doing your thing, and then the guy in front of you like scratches 3 times because he's trying to be.
See, that's my problem. I get into these competitions, and believe it or not, I performing in front of crowds is not the funnest thing for me in the world, because I just feel the pressure of not screwing up, and then I get in my head, and I'm trying to manage 2 things, to try and push that thing out of my head and focus on what the heck I'm doing at the same time. And it's just, I just suck at it. But
you've done more competitions than I have. So anyway, Cory, can't thank you enough again for being on the show tonight. I hope we can see each other again soon. Part of my family, my Sky fam. And thanks for a great show. Everyone else, again, I say it every week, but you're my favorite part of the week. You guys are the best, the Sky Fam and the SuperAero Squadron, and all, you guys are so kind and supportive of the show, and thank you for that. And we'll figure out who's on next week. But in the meantime, we'll I don't know. I gotta come up with like a tagline: "Fly safe, go fly."
SuperAero.
Yeah, I gotta come up with something. I've 69 episodes. I still haven't come up with a tagline. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much.